5, 4, 3, 2, 1. CTS Pop Culture Podcast. We're back. We haven't missed any major pop culture developments in the last. It's been like 2 months.
Yeah, so we got a lot to get through. Hang on to your pockets, people.
Yep.
Hang on to your hats, your toiletries, your fluids over 2.5 ounces. This is going to be a plane
3
ride.
ounces?
I have
totally
idea.
off topic, but that reminded me. I saw a video, and it's like those rules are like different in different places.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Which is weird.
I brought up.
Did you see that video?
Yeah. Well, wait, maybe
there
not.
was a TikTok video that the dude's like, he's in Dallas, and it's like no liquids over 3 ounces, and then he's like in New York, and it's like no liquids over 3.3 ounces. I don't get what's so hard about this. And then it's like somewhere else, it's like 2.5 ounces, and it's like it's TSA. Why are they not all the same?
Well, and what's weird about that too is in Europe, I was flying. I brought a monster can to the airport, like an actual monster can, like probably, 12 ounces, 16 ounces.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. Just no checks or anything. Just put it in the thing. They scanned it, and I was good to go. So it's like
Weird.
I don't understand like the big deal about it. Anyways, as you can see, we're in the same studio.
We've updated.
Henry. I got Henry hooked on Legos. I would just like to say I was into this stuff years ago.
All I'm saying is these were not like I made the decision to put these in the podcast stand. So sorry, we've got a nice Horizon Zero Dawn for all of our video game fans. Cool little tall neck. UCS land speeder. My head's probably in the way a little bit. And then R2.
And the Porsche, or they can't.
You can't see the Porsche.
Oh.
The top shelf, there's a Porsche. We'll try and fix the camera in the future so that you can see my cool Porsche.
Are you playing footsies with me down there? What's going on?
I didn't move my feet at all.
What's going on down there?
I did not move my feet at all.
Henry's playing footsies with me. Anyways,
okay.
So new Lego stuff. We have a lot to get through, including we haven't talked about Obi-Wan at all. Like, at all. It has literally
Did we talk about the Moon Knight finale?
Ooh.
I don't know if we even talked about the Moon Knight finale.
That'd be bad. Maybe we don't even talk about it. Or do we?
We both enjoyed Moon Knight.
Yeah, no, I really
We both really
liked
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that's all you're getting.
Oscar Isaac he's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors.
Yeah,
I like him
very
a lot.
good.
But
Yeah.
let's just hit Obi-Wan. I guess you know what we haven't talked about either?
What?
Multiverse of Madness.
Are you sure? No, we haven't talked about Multiverse of Madness. Ooh.
So maybe we talk about that first.
Let's talk about that first because that's old. Jace hated it. He said it was awful and cringe and the worst thing he's ever seen.
So all of those things are true, but it was also terrible. So, no, I really liked it. I saw a thing of like a TikTok where it was like Marvel has only hit 2 out of the last 5 projects, the last 5 Marvel movies, and they had marked Shang-Chi and
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are you talking about? It's so weird.
Well, it's kind of like the Pixar thing where like people are so used to Marvel stuff being so good that like a good movie is now like not up to standards. Like I went and
same thing with Star Wars, right?
I went and saw that Lightyear, which was like good. I enjoyed it, and like a lot of people were rating it like a 7 out of 10, and they're like, yeah, it's not a good Pixar movie. It's like
it was a box office bust, wasn't it? It only made like 50 million. It
is a weird one because with streaming, family movies like that, I think you're gonna struggle because it's like, why would I not just wait a month or 2 until it's on Disney Plus?
Not only that, but getting your whole family to the theater, like movie tickets are pretty cheap. Like we go to when me and you go,
but they're not that cheap, right? Like think about like, okay, so we're pretty cheap here where we are.
Yeah.
And especially if you go to like an earlier movie, like the cheaper prices, but tickets are like $15 to $20 in some places, like California. So think you bring your family of 5, so now you're like $100 for tickets. And then a lot of people get concessions and stuff, which like we don't. Like we go enough that like we're like never get concessions. But it's like you buy a drink, it's $8. Popcorn,
$150 for a family of 5, easy.
Or I can wait 2 months And like it's not like my kids are gonna. I don't care about spoilers for Lightyear or Encanto or something. Both good movies, I think. But would I be fine? Like, do I need to see them on the big screen?
Yeah.
I don't think so. If the cost is $150.
Yeah. So I don't know. But going back to Multiverse of Madness.
Sorry.
I thought it was pretty good.
I liked it.
I do think my expectations were a little high. Doctor Strange is my favorite superhero.
I think we agree on that.
And I think maybe I had gone into it expecting something else, but I also think that we got some of the best scenes, some of the best Marvel scenes like ever. And certainly one of the best villain sort of arcs and villain scenes that they've fit into one movie. Like,
well, and it was so unique, right? Like it wasn't, I mean, like all the Sam Raimi like horror stuff was cool and different and not stuff we'd kind of ever seen in Marvel before.
yeah, and the biggest thing I would have changed is play into that even more, like the horror aspect. And I think that's sort of where they were going to go, and I'm disappointed that they didn't go that way. Because who did they have directing it before Sam Raimi?
Oh, shoot. It was, well, I think it was just the guy that directed the first one.
He was going to do like a full horror.
It was supposed to be a full horror movie, and then they kind of shut him down.
Yeah.
Which I think I don't hate the idea of having the movies sticking to a little bit more of a formula. That's where I think you could do cool things with the shows, where you're like a little more outside the box, where it's not so dependent on like this massive box office success.
Yeah.
Like I think you could do some cool stuff. I mean that they have done, right? Like Loki's a different type of show. Moon Knight was a different type of show. But even like lean into that even more. Like do a full on like horror show or a full on kind of different genre show.
It'd be cool. Yeah.
Well, I even think She-Hulk's gonna be like part like court procedural, which is kind of cool for a Marvel show.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think, and maybe you'll disagree with me on this, I think Star Wars has done a better job diversifying as far as projects go and keeping people involved as far as projects go than Marvel. Would you agree or disagree?
I don't know. It's probably close, but I just think, I guess if you include kind of like Clone Wars and that and Rebels and stuff, but Star Wars is very much the story of like kind of has been like, if you think like The Mandalorian, like Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, like loner on a desert planet, rescues, like saves group, finds family type thing, feels similar stories. And not that I've really, really enjoyed all of those projects. Like I've loved them, but I just think kind of Moon Knight was so different. Like even WandaVision was so different. Like Hawkeye was different. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was different. And we haven't talked about it. Miss Marvel, very different as well.
Which I haven't seen yet.
Yeah. So I wouldn't fight for it. Disagree. I'd probably give Marvel a slight edge, but they're definitely, I think that's one of the benefits of doing stuff on Disney Plus. Is you get a little more leeway, because if a movie flops, that's like brutal. Like it's like huge losses for the studio. You've done all this marketing, like you've paid all this money for a movie. Whereas if a TV show flops, like okay, it's just more content. Like what's really even a flop on a streaming service? Like not as many people watch it, or like you don't gain quite as many new subscribers, but you still have people subscribing. Like they're still paying. I mean, I think Disney Plus has over 100 million subscribers. It's like at $10 a month.
Is that their biggest revenue source?
No.
As far as entertainment, like movie, like show stuff?
I still don't think, I don't think it is. It might be close. I still think it's movies. Because you got to think, right? Because under movies, you've got like selling like DVDs and like any physical media and all that stuff like is big and getting smaller, admittedly, because of streaming. But
and merchandising is Disney's biggest winner, right? I would assume.
I think it's parks.
Parks? Really?
Parks do crazy. I mean, you got to think about it, right? Like we were just talking about how expensive Disney tickets are today, like are. and there's tens of thousands of people.
We're talking about like
It's and
billions.
I think
though.
Parks is big. Parks is huge. Merchandising might edge it, but Parks is a big portion of it.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess I could certainly see it, but yeah, and licensing too, I'm sure is pretty crazy.
They're probably backing, or I guess licensing for merchandising, right? Because they're backing off on licensing for characters and stuff to create things because everything's just going on Disney Plus. They're like, we'll make a show of that. But
right. So, anyways, going into Obi-Wan, let's talk first about general reaction to the series, because I think it kind of pissed us both off.
Yes.
The way that people reacted to the series.
It just proved that people have zero patience, I think, to me. Star Wars fans especially have no patience.
Not only no patience, but it's this active need to find something. If it doesn't meet exactly what you want, or this is not going exactly how you need it to go, or you have a problem with how this is going to fit into how you envision the story, you automatically have a disliking for it. And there were certain aspects of the show that did not immediately fit into canon, or they weren't properly explained, but then they were explained the next episode,
like that's,
or 2 episodes down.
That's the point of a show.
That's the point of a series. Yeah.
That's why we have a series. That's why we have a story. I think people, and maybe it's just that in not like people are more used to consuming Star Wars media in like movie form, where you sit down and watch one movie and it creates new canon and all that stuff. But it's like how there were some weird ones that people are like, what? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this doesn't fit canon. This character shows up later. Like, how does that work? And it's like the creators came out and were like, hey, guys, we would never break canon. Watch the show. Like, we're 1 episode in.
Yeah, they have to be spoon-fed. Star Wars fans have to be spoon-fed every single detail and every single aspect and plot line, and it's just kind of silly. I did think, so talking about going into the show, what was your favorite part, favorite episode, favorite scene?
I liked, it was probably like a pairing of kind of the first time Obi-Wan and Vader kind of meet, like come together, and it was cool to see like Vader's all powerful and like Obi-Wan's like weak and trying to reconnect to the Force. I really liked that part. I thought it was a cool like, okay, and then obviously like the finale was sweet when they fight at the end.
Yeah, it was really cool. I wanted to get your take talking about the finale. There's that scene where, you know, Obi-Wan has kind of broken Vader's helmet,
mm-hmm.
and he's like shifting, his eye colors shift back to normal, and then before they turn yellow, and he says, "You did not kill Anakin Skywalker. I did."
Yeah.
Do you think that was like Anakin saying to Obi-Wan, like, stop blaming yourself? Whoops.
I don't know. I almost think that it's like Vader like rubbing it in Obi-Wan's face, like, hey, you didn't stop him then, you didn't kill him then, like he was still there, like he was still like alive, and now I've like killed him, like now he's gone. But I can also see it the other way, but I just feel like at that point, like 10 years after, I mean, because we still see, remind me on the timeline, is when like Twilight of the Apprentice, that's after this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like quite a ways after this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I also think if we hadn't, I almost prefer the Twilight of the Apprentice scene, like version of it, more than this one. But no, it was cool. It was cool. And I like that theory. I think that's a good theory too, to
it's
like,
cool.
He's trying to like release Obi-Wan from the guilt, and it was cool that they, at the end of the fight, like when he leaves, he's like, I'm leaving Darth, because he never he stops calling him Anakin. He just calls him
says
Darth
goodbye,
from
Darth.
that point. Yeah, he just calls him Darth from that point on.
And he spared him. Obi-Wan spared him. That's the second time. And so people were mad about, Vader should have wiped the floor with him, and Vader's like one of the strongest Sith, but it's like,
well,
people don't realize, I think that the creators kind of set up Vader to be uneasy and he's not fully himself when he's around Obi-Wan. He's unbalanced, and that's why Obi-Wan has won in both the fights, because Darth Vader, it's not the same as fighting anyone else. You're fighting Obi-Wan, who is your former master, and that's why we get the scene at the end where the Emperor says, to Vader, he's basically like, I don't think you can handle Obi-Wan. Maybe I'll find someone who can, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, also, what do you want? Do you want Darth Vader to wipe Obi-Wan? I don't get it. What's the point of...
Yeah, do you want Vader to kill him?
Well, how does it... And we get this complaint a lot. Oh my gosh, Luke should be more powerful, or Vader should be more powerful, or whatever. What's the point of a show then? If the character...
just wipes everyone. There's just no difficulty ever.
But then people would complain about that. It doesn't... It doesn't make sense to me. What is the... what are you doing? How is that a good story that this character is just ultra powerful, can't be beaten? So then why are they in the story?
I do want... This show gave us a lot of fan service. I just want one more bit of fan service where we see Obi-Wan and Ahsoka together in live action. Just one more little piece of fan service.
I don't think we're going to get it.
That's all I need. Just one scene.
We're not going to get it.
Just one scene where we get them both together. Maybe in the Ahsoka show, though. I don't know.
Would you be happy with a Force Ghost Obi-Wan and Ahsoka? Her with Anakin and Obi-Wan as Force Ghosts?
Or maybe it's like a flashback, an Ahsoka flashback where it's right after the fall of the fall of the Republic.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool. I thought it was really cool seeing Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's my favorite Jedi.
Yeah, that was funny. He's
Liam
just
Neeson's there.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw a really cool... can you imagine if it played out like this, where Anakin's about to strike down Obi-Wan, has him on the edge and with his lightsaber up, and you just see Liam Neeson appear, and it's Force Ghost Qui-Gon. And he just goes, Anakin, that's enough. And then Vader becomes uneasy, and then Obi-Wan just that'd be crazy, dude.
Yeah, I like how they did it though. I don't know. I feel like it would have been too much if Force Ghost Qui-Gon was heavily involved in it.
Yeah, but I would have loved that one. It would have been better than freaking at the very end where he's like, let's begin your training.
I don't know, because that's always how Force Ghosts are, right? Is just showing up kind of at the end, they're not in the conflict. They're right? I mean, even if you think back to Return of the Jedi,
I could see that.
They just show up when they're celebrating at the end, just hanging out.
I think, yeah. But I liked it. I really liked the series. I think people were being annoying about it the entire time and had way too high of expectations. And it's also...
Well, not even... I don't know what were your expectations? Just
non-stop lightsaber
6 hours of Obi-Wan Vader lightsaber contact, or content with some intermixed Clone Wars flashbacks. That's what they wanted. That's not even a good show. That wouldn't even be a good show. But because I don't get it. I just don't.
So, and I was telling you this the other day. One of the problems that I had is it did feel I felt like Reva's storyline was a little forced. I felt like there were parts where it felt like it was a little bit forced in, and it was almost forcing the user or the watcher to relate to her. But in a show like this, unless you dedicate a whole series to a character like hers, it's going to be really hard for people to relate to her the same way that I think the writers envisioned, because you have these characters that people are already really attached to. Like, for example, even the Grand Inquisitor, right? Because we saw him in Rebels and we have this knowledge of the content that he brings. And same with Obi-Wan.
It's hard to introduce new characters.
Same with Leia. Same with Luke. Well, it's hard to introduce new characters in a show like this.
Yes, right? You can do it in The Mandalorian where it's like totally like separate and the show's about these new characters. But it's hard to go, okay, here's an Obi-Wan show. And you have to introduce new characters. Like, it can't just be like Obi-Wan and Vader. Like, it can't be all original character or like all old characters. But yeah, I get that. Like, it's tricky. I also think there was a little bit so originally it was supposed to be a movie. There was supposed to be an Obi-Wan movie, and I think you can see a little bit of that where it feels like there's almost two stories where they adapted like kind of that Obi-Wan Vader story from what was probably the original screenplay, and then they were like, okay, but this is a series, so we need to add some more and kind of change it up a little bit. But I don't know. I also think people were complaining about like the Leia, like him going to rescue Leia and stuff. But to me, that feels like the only reason he could leave Tatooine, right? Like, if we take Obi-Wan as a character, what we know his motivations are, the only reason he would have left Tatooine is to help Leia or help Luke.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, I know. I just saw it. That was a criticism I saw as people were like, what, he's supposed to be like, canon says he's on Tatooine the whole time. So what, did you just want him sitting like talking to like Jawas? Like that you wanted 6 episodes of that?
And we've had enough of Tatooine. I'm at the point where I'm kind of done with Tatooine.
Like, it's funny, right? Because they describe it as like in like the original trilogy, they're like it's this kind of like rock in the middle of nowhere that like nothing really happens on, and then it's like, oh, but every single character is from Tatooine and goes to Tatooine and is, which like, and if you want to stop there, like in a series like The Mandalorian, if they want to stop there and have an episode on Tatooine, but yeah, we've had a lot of Tatooine.
Now let me ask you this. Do you think we ever get a show that builds on the sequels? A show or movie? Or do you think Star Wars is deliberately heading in the direction where they're just going to play on original trilogy and The Mandalorian kind of sideline?
I think we will. Our first like Rogue Squadron is supposed to be a post-sequels movie. The Patty Jenkins directed film that was announced and is, I think, still supposed to happen.
A film?
Yeah, a film. Not the next Star Wars film, but I think in the lineup, it was supposed to be the next one. It was supposed to come out Christmas of this year.
The next one's Titus, right?
They just changed that. They just swapped that order.
That one's not coming out this year, though, right?
No, they pushed it back. It's next year. It's like holiday season next year. So, I think we will. Even in the sense, like, eventually you have to do stuff that takes place after the sequels. And, like, the world has to be sort of changed by the sequels, even if it's, like, in passing. I don't know if they'll bring the characters back, like, the exact characters back. But I also think...
Well, Babu Frick is going to be in a...
What's he going to be in?
I can't remember. But you saw that, right?
Andor, right? Isn't it Andor?
Dude, that looks freaking sick, dude. I really... And we've talked about this before, but I think we both really like the governmental regulation politics type stuff.
Yeah, that one. And then, like, Acolyte, I think is going to be really cool. I'm super excited for that one. Well, Andor's supposed to be, like, long. Like, it's supposed to be, like, 12-episode seasons.
Oh, really?
And they're, like, are already working on season 2. And Diego Luna, right, who plays Cassian Andor, was, like, they were, like, are going to do 5 seasons or something of it, which is crazy.
Maybe they're wanting to build something that, not rivals, but sort of in a sense rivals The Mandalorian, where it just gains that much popularity. But
it's a hard one, though, right? Because we know what happens. Which, like, you can do a lot in that framework of, like, we kind of know where his story ends.
Yeah, it is trickier,
but
Because it's nice having, like with The Mandalorian, it's nice not
what's
knowing
gonna happen.
what's going to happen.
It's a totally new story, and like Rogue One was a new story, but also now we've got kind of this very concrete, like, even in a sense, like, okay, like he dies, I don't care, whatever, but I know like where his character ends up, like where his motivation is. Like it's tricky because what's his right, because in that movie he does the thing where he changes from this like, okay, just do anything for the mission, like don't really care about other people as long as it accomplishes the mission, to kind of like he develops. Now it's like, but then what's the point of the show? Like, how's his character gonna develop? And I'm sure they'll do a good job, and I really like Diego Luna in Rogue One, so I'm excited for it. But it does make 5 seasons seem a little like not a lot of shows get 5 seasons.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. No way they fit 5 seasons worth of content into that.
No, I bet we get. And the thing is even the way the show is set up, it could be like you don't have to have, like, no matter what they do in the first season, you could end it like in a second season. Because we know. But
and Mandalorian are we getting any more Star Wars stuff until Mandalorian at the end of the year?
Andor.
When does that come out?
It's in like August.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then we have like Bad Batch too. Bad Batch season 2.
That'll be cool.
Comes out, and then I think there's Tales of the Jedi is this year too, I think.
What is that?
It's another animated thing. But you get like young Ahsoka, there's more like Qui-Gon stuff.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Like with Liam
I remember
Neeson.
seeing that.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. Yeah, that'll be, and that's Clone Wars animation, isn't it? Tales of the Jedi.
I don't think so. Maybe it is. I don't know. I didn't know if they'd even like announced what type of animation it was
really?
or what it looked like. But
Interesting.
yeah, so we've got, what else do we have coming up? Thor comes up. I guess Stranger Things came out since the last time we recorded.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about Stranger Things. I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot to talk about.
There's not a whole
other
lot
than
to talk about.
I think we both like it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool.
Vecna.
And I liked that they leaned into the horror stuff more.
I'm such a big fan of horror. If you give me anything horror, I just kind of eat it up, especially when it comes to like horror being involved more heavily in shows that I already like, or subjects that I already like.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, I eat that stuff up.
When you do that, it's always good. We've got, so the next couple episodes of that come out. What's the date? It's like the 24th or 25th. That's like next week that it comes out.
The last 2 episodes?
Yeah, it's July 1st. And then Thor, the new Thor comes out, is I think July 7th.
Oh,
maybe.
We'll have to go see that.
Yeah, for sure. And then
they haven't done a whole lot of marketing on that. It's really kind of
no.
wild.
I mean, the premiere just happened. Like the review embargo dropped, like already.
I wonder why. Why though? Why haven't they done a whole lot of marketing?
I think they know everyone's gonna go.
Really?
And I think they're also. I think they probably saw, like with Shang-Chi, like how helpful it was to put a movie out. Like Shang-Chi didn't have a ton of marketing either, right? I mean, I don't even know if I recall any of the marketing before we saw it. Like, and we saw it early, but then it had like a great positive word of mouth, and I'm hearing a lot of like really good things about Thor. Like people are really liking it.
I've heard it's like like really heavy leaning into comedy stuff.
Really?
That's what I heard from just a random reviewer, but I think part of the thing is it's just a Taika movie, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be just like Ragnarok.
I think what I heard is that, but it gets a lot darker with like the gore stuff.
Oh, really?
Like it leans heavily into comedy, but then there's like the gore stuff is darker than like Gore the God Butcher, not like gore. Is like darker than anything in the other Thor movies.
Gotcha.
So that should be exciting. Trying to think, is there anything else? Not that I can think of that's coming out or has come out recently.
I'm sure there has been stuff.
I mean, Miss Marvel, you haven't seen it. I've liked it a lot.
Haven't seen it.
I've really enjoyed it. I wasn't I was gonna watch it obviously, but I wasn't expecting it to like really enjoy it, and I think it's been really good. It's been like, I don't know, I haven't been pulled out of the series at all. Like sometimes, because it's definitely aimed at like a little bit younger audience, but at the same time, like I haven't been pulled out of it all, and it feels like super. Sometimes you get shows like that you're like, oh, the dialogue's weird. Like I don't like that. I haven't been pulled out of it at all. Like I care about like the characters have done a good job. Like I'm excited to see like the Miss Marvel character like in future stuff, because I'm sure she'll show up in other stuff. There's a rumor that Kate Bishop is going to be in the show, because in the credits there's something about like the makeup artist for Haley Steinfeld. Like they
really?
thank the makeup artist for Haley Steinfeld in the credits.
Interesting. It almost feels they're gonna have to start killing off characters at some point, right? When are all these characters gonna die? They have so many. Can you imagine the next Avengers movie?
But I think that's where I don't know if you get an Avengers movie with all the characters, right? Now it's like Young Avengers or like the New Avengers and like X-Men and right? Like they're all kind of separate. Yeah, we'll see. We're kind of right at the start. Like
New Deadpool movie is being worked on, isn't it?
I think it's been being worked on for a long time.
It's gonna be rated R. It's gonna be Disney's first rated R movie. Marvel's Disney's first since taking over Marvel.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one, right? Because Disney has so many like branches. Like they have
Hulu has rated R stuff.
Well,
right?
and like I mean like Fox Searchlight, right? Disney owns that, and they've released a bunch of rated R movies under that. But yeah, people were worried about Deadpool getting like changed, like kind of the tone of it changed by Disney. But it sounds like they're just like, whatever, we're not going to connect it super closely with the MCU. But
so tell me this real quick before we wrap it up. Does Kevin Feige, does he oversee every Marvel project, or is he just kind of like the head guy that makes sure that sees big picture stories lining up?
He's kind of big picture, but I think he does do a lot of like micromanaging type stuff, because he just had an interview where he's like, I want to get more like very experienced directors in to make these movies so that I don't have to like worry about them. I can just set them going, like tell them a couple things that we need them to throw in or want them to throw in, and then set them and let them make their movie. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Cool.
Hopefully we get Steven Spielberg or
Imagine
Steven Spielberg. Okay.
Quentin Tarantino.
Do we want to wrap up with some trivia?
Oh yeah, that sounds just cheeky.
Even
just though I just
win again.
Absolutely screwed.
1, 2. We'll go 2 cards. Boom, boom. Okay, I'll read yours first. What title did Cara Dune gain in season 2? A, Marshal. B, Captain. C, she did not gain any.
It's Marshall.
It's Marshall. True or false? The wielder of the Darksaber has the right to lay claim to the Mandalorian throne.
I'm going to go ahead and say true.
That's a awful 2-point question. For 1, it's 50-50 already.
Finally.
And for 2, okay, hit me.
Okay. This is a pretty good one.
Mm.
Ooh. Both of these are pretty
Okay,
sauce.
Let's get them.
What does Grief Karga initially try to pay the Mandalorian with? Brass coins, Imperial credits, or Beskar?
Imperial credits. Brass coins, Imperial credits, or Beskar. Ooh, that's a tricky one. He doesn't pay him in... It's brass coins, right?
It's Imperial credits.
Really?
Sorry. That's a tricky one. Yeah.
I was thinking because I'm just trying to think back, because doesn't he try and pay him with like Aqualish?
So if you remember, it's in like the first episode, he's like, he passes him credits and he's like, these are no good here.
Oh.
And then he pays him in.
He pays him in the Aqualish.
No, the dinar. It's the fish people that we were just talking about the other day.
Yeah, I think that's the Aqualish, right?
No, it's the other one where I was like...
Mon Calamari?
The Mon Calamari. It was Mon Calamari money is what it was. This is pretty sauce too.
Jeez.
Where does Peli Motto live? Mos Pelgo,
It's
Mos
Mos Pelgo.
Eisley, or Navarro?
It's Mos Pelgo.
It's Mos Eisley.
What?
Yep. You're 0 for 2, my friend.
Mos Eisley?
That's tough.
Cause what's in Mos Pelgo?
You might be thinking of Boba Fett stuff.
What even happens in Mos Pelgo? Is Boba Fett in Mos Pelgo?
I think so.
See,
yeah.
that's bad because I never would have thought of that, right? If we didn't have Boba Fett, and
Yeah.
they made these cards before, like Boba Fett, before anything was going on.
We'll take the win.
No, but
All good.
she's in, like, they're around, right? When the Mandalorian comes. That's weird.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
'Kay.
That one is weird.
What on earth? Okay. I won't complain. I've had some softballs. How old is the child? A, 150, B, 50, C, 5.
It's 50, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What signet does the Mandalorian get on his right pauldron? A, Mudhorn, B, Crate Dragon, C, Jawa.
I know it's between A and B. I just can't remember what they call it. It's got to be A. They call it a Mudhorn.
It's Mudhorn.
Okay, you got easy ones here. True or false? Credits are a standard form of currency in the Galactic Empire.
True.
On which planet did Mando finally reunite a creature looking for her husband? A, Alderaan. B, Tatooine. C, Trask.
C, Trask.
Good job. Looks like I finally win.
That was...
Get in! Get in!
I can't believe that. Mos Pelgo. Weird, because I just didn't think they were in Mos Eisley.
Yeah, that's...
Because can you imagine? They were in Mos Eisley a lot because they were at her place a lot and didn't even... and didn't do anything with the cantina or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
All right. Should we wrap this one
it up?
This is the CTS podcast, Pop Culture Podcast. CTS PCP. Over and out.